is the eccentric one, so maybe it will wake you up or keep you awake, hopefully. I'd just like to thank Centre for Bhutan Studies for inviting me to this wonderful gathering. So this phenomena I'm going to talk about is either extinct or very rarely practiced. I'd better say that because how do I know? There might even be someone here who practices it. So just to be safe, I'll say that. I suspect it's extinct within Tibet. It's called Lungom, speed or trance walking. And it had a strong center in southern Tibet at Nangto Kibu, or the Happy Caves of the Upper Nang Valley, a side valley to the Nang Valley near Tashalu Monastery. The skill, as I said, was called Lungom, wind walking, or Gyoklong, meaning quick walking. Both Madam Alexandra David Neal and Dewan Badur Pala, who was the Tibetan confidant of Sir Charles Bell, witnessed speed walkers. So they're the two witnesses at first hand. Although not directly witnessing the phenomena himself, Sir Charles Bell, political officer, Sikkim and Bhutan, 1908 to 1921, made notes in his 1934 diary on his second trip to Lhasa, and this is what started me off on this topic, really, of reported sightings, while Lama Anagarika Govinda wrote the most well-rounded account after talking to informants at the Nangto Kibu Hermitage on his visit in 1947. However, like Bell, Govinda had no direct experiences, and he was working from the reportage of others. So the historical background, Madam David Alexandra Neal tells us in her account, she starts off by saying that, there are many references to speed walking in Tibetan literature, and she talks about reference in the Padam Katang, where it's termed Kangyok no Drup, or success in swiftness of foot. But I haven't had a chance I haven't checked this, but I just mention this. There's a later historical reference found in the Terma Life of Yeshe Sogyal, written in the 18th century by Taksham Nudan Dorji, where speed walking is described as one of the mundane siddhis gained by Yeshe Sogyal on her spiritual path to enlightenment. So it's a siddhi. But to begin with the eyewitness accounts, Pala, who's this confidant of Bell, told him that he'd seen speed walkers twice. Once when he was 10, and again about, as he said, 30 years ago. So that would make it about 1904. He described the Lungompa in this way. He said, quote, he was taking steps as in walking, and his feet seemed to touch the ground, but only lightly, as though he was almost treading the air. The steps came very quickly. He traveled with extraordinary speed. He added that one of these men walks in one day as far as others could walk in 7. The other account is by, many of you may know it, Madam Alexandra David Neal, who encountered a Lungom while she was crossing the Changtang in Tibet, I think in her 1924 expedition. So the man had a calm, impassive face. His gaze was fixed above the horizon, as if on something high in the sky, like a star, and his feet seemed to rebound each time they touched the ground, as if they were elastic. He did not run, but his steps were regular, like a pendulum. Interesting detail, he had a purba in his right hand. And Neal was warned by the people with her not to speak to him as he passed, because they believed that would kill him, since he needed to keep repeating the mantra of the deity that he was embodying. She was told that the practice involved a combination of mantra recitation, breathing exercises, and that these had to be exactly coordinated with the steps being taken. So everything had to be synchronized with this rhythmic stepping. The trance state depended on fixing one's eyes on something above the horizon. A star was ideal, and the best times of the day for this practice were sunset or in the twilight. On another occasion, David Neal passed a Longom who was wearing chains, and she was told that some of them do this to hold their bodies down as their bodies become very light, so that they didn't start to float. Next one, please. Right back, please. Yeah, that's next. Back. Yeah, that's him. So this is one of Bell's photographs. Druptup or Mahasiddha, photographed in 1934, in a posture associated with production of Tummo. He's one of Bell's caravan men, knew him, he lived nearby, so he said he'd attained several siddhi, levitation to several stories high, and Longom. And he was a Nyingma, married yogin. So Longom could, of course, be practiced by a solitary practitioner like this, but there were two centers associated with well-known monasteries where rigorous, closed or sealed 12-year retreats were used to perfect it. So these centers were at Samding Monastery and at the one I've already mentioned, Nangto Kibu, near Shalu Monastery in Sang. And both of these were associated with a particular ritual that happened every 12 years. According to Lama Govinda's informants, at Nangto Kibu, the origins of the practice lay with a legendary episode in the life of the great Bhutan Rinpoche, the codifier of the Tibetan canon, who lived between 1289 and 1364. Shalu, whose monastery Bhutan was the 11th abbot of, near to Nangto Kibu, as many of you will know, was a center of esoteric practices, most notably that of Tummo, or inner fire. Next one, please. Yeah, that's fine. That's the one. So here we have the two players in this legend. Yongton Dorji Pal and Bhutan Rinpoche. So the legend is about these two. During the time that Bhutan was abbot at Shalu, there lived close by his very close disciple and practitioner, Yongton Chenpo Dorji Pal, master of the Nyingma Tantras, all the three series, and Dzogchen, mostly practiced in Utsang, but also in Paro. He was renowned for his practice involving Yamantaka, and he's usually shown with a purba, as here. The next one, please. He's often shown like this, with one of the protectors appearing to him, this tanka in the Rubin Museum in New York. So the legend is basically that during one ritual, this great practitioner, Yungtong Dorji Pal, propitiated Shinje, Lord of Death, with offerings in order to prolong the life of humans by 12 years. Shinje agreed, but only on condition that one life was willingly offered in compensation to him. So nobody was willing to offer themselves except the saintly Bhutan. Instead of accepting his offer, Shinje laid upon Bhutan and his successors the duty of performing the ritual every 12 years. In order for the ritual to be performed, the Yidam or tutelary deities of Yutsang had to be summoned within one day. And this was the oral legendary reason that speed walking was initiated. Moreover, the walker had to be fearless, as he had to face wrathful tantric deities. So the practices were set up at Samding and Nangto Kibu, and these places alternated in sending Longompa every 12 years. And we're given no details of how the candidates were chosen for this. Such Longompa were also called, according to David Neal's informants, Maheketang, after the Mahe, or buffalo, on which Shinje, the Lord of Death, rides. So Bell was told, at the end of the 12-year ceremony, the retreat, the sealed doorway would be broken down of the sealed hermitage, and the Longom, who had been there for 12 years, would begin his trance journey through Utsang to Lhasa. Speaking to no one and maintaining the trance, he would blow on thigh-bone trumpet when approaching each zong to alert the authorities to his progress through the country. And the journey ended with a silent audience before the Dalai Lama in the Potala Palace. So going back to Bell's informant, Pala, he told Bell that the carrying out of the trance walk was considered beneficial and protective for Tibet as a whole. He believed the last time it had happened before Bell's trip was 1932. In theory, then it should have occurred again in 1944 and maybe 1956. Yeah, it's the right slide. So this is taken from one of Bell's pictures that he took in October 1934. So this is Nangto Kibu, and showing the hermitages, which are difficult to really assess the size, maybe 20 to 30-ish, or maybe 40 feet square, thick mud-walled structures built around an open courtyard. So they were not dark, they were not sealed in that way. The next one, please. This is just another view from the bottom. These are taken from black and white, so they're not brilliant. Yeah, next one, please. So we do have a plan, and this is from Lama Govinda, his Way of the White Clouds, from his informants relating to Nangto Kibu. So you have this open courtyard with rooms for meditation. You have a kitchen, a place for washing. The whole thing was sealed. There was a hole in the wall for putting food through, and we have a cross section coming up. Next one. Yeah. So a feature of this is that the Gomchen, the yogin, could also use this top gallery that you see running around the top for exercises, and this must have been very important for Longom because it involved physical exercises, but hidden from the outside view by the tall outer walls. So it was higher than a man, so couldn't be seen from the ground. Next one, please. So we only have sketchy details of the yogic practices involved in Longom, but evidently they involve meditation on the element air, or Long itself, together with the use of the mantras of a deity. The main physical exercises was one of yogic jumping, where the practitioner jumps vertically upwards without the use of hands, as seen here. And this is basically a Trulko exercise designed to cleanse the nadis as part of the completion stage of tantric practice. The exercise was also used the same exercise to develop the siddhi of levitation. So it's no surprise that the Druptop that we saw was a practitioner of levitation as well. Before each leap, a full vase or kumbhaka breath had to be taken and held during the leap upwards. And it would seem that both levitation and speed walking depended on a conscious manipulation and control, as I said, of lung as an elemental force within the body. But there are many more unanswered questions about this. About this tradition than the things we do know. What were the exact and full exercises and mantras? What was the deity involved? The purba may be a clue that was being held. But where are the texts? If someone knows, that would be wonderful. We know about other, the other inner yogas, but not so much about this. Is this still being practiced somewhere in secret? Or is this really completely extinct? There's another question. So, more questions than answered. But anyway, thank you.